Hi, I'm Doug Fields, and I want to thank you for listening to this audio training from Youth Leader Training on the Go. Most people believe that a good youth worker must above all love teenagers. However, as important as that is, it's not the main element in a strong ministry to students. The most important thing is your love for God. A passion-filled love for God that is evident and leaks into the lives of those around you. A genuine love for God that is so strong that students see, sense, and experience Him whenever they're around you. In order for the foundation of your youth ministry to be strong, it must be built on the leader's spiritual depth and love for God. That means you. You play a significant part in the health of that youth ministry foundation. When you're intimately connected to God, that connection will become apparent in your actions, attitudes, and a genuine concern for people. Students are intelligent. They can discern between someone who has a textbook knowledge of God's love and someone who has a daily personal experience with God. Jesus clearly communicated the importance of loving God in Matthew 22. When someone asked the question, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." Note the distinction between these two commandments. Loving the Lord your God is the greatest, and loving others as yourself is the second greatest. But why is one more important than the other? The answer is clear. Reversing this order can have a devastating effect on your spiritual life. When you make loving God your top priority, then it will lead to a life that loves others. The opposite isn't true. You can dedicate your life to serving others, and this won't lead you to loving God. This is a real trap that we all face. Serving in ministry and loving others can even become an excuse for not falling more deeply in love with God. Failure to see the difference between loving God, focusing on Him, and loving others, that's doing ministry, can result in a ministry-focused life rather than a God-focused life. Does this distinction make sense to you? Please take a minute to consider this. Your service in youth ministry should never come at the expense of your personal passion and depth for God. Many volunteers begin serving in youth ministry with a passion for God and a genuine love for students, but they allow the busyness and the pace of ministry to rob them of their spiritual depth. If you work hard to do great ministry to students, instead of nurturing your love for God, you'll end up in the wrong place. The shift from loving God to loving others and doing ministry doesn't happen overnight. It's usually slow, gradual. And because of that, I'd like to suggest 3 spiritual values that won't merely enhance your leadership, they'll allow you to live life to the fullest. The first is the value of love. You can't do anything to earn God's love. He loves you. He adores you. He's crazy about you. It doesn't matter how much ministry you do, you can't earn more of God's love. In fact, it doesn't matter how bad you are in ministry either. His love won't go away. Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 3, "Your roots will grow down into God's love and keep you strong. And may you have the power to understand, as all God's people should, how wide, how long, how high, and how deep His love is. May you experience the love of Christ. Though it is too great to understand fully, then you will be made complete with all the fullness of life and power that comes from God." I'm guessing now, but I bet you've heard this before. So here's my question. Do you really believe it? If you want to know what you believe about God's love, look at your actions and your motivations that you use to receive love from others. The second value I want you to consider is the value of depth. This value says that I'm not wired to live my life alone. I'm created to be known and loved by others. I don't have to do ministry alone, and more importantly, I need the accountability and support that comes from close spiritual friendships. This kind of relational depth requires time. If you're not in an accountable relationship with another believer, I want to encourage you to begin connecting with someone as soon as possible. Why? Because youth ministry is too difficult to do alone. The final value that I want to suggest is the value of rest. God created you to rest. You need rest. The need for rest is not only part of our relational wiring, it's also placed within the infrastructure of this planet. God rested on the 7th day. God created a life rule called Sabbath, so we'd have a day of rest. When God walked the earth as Jesus, He went so far as to model rest for us. The Bible clearly shows us that Jesus rested. This value doesn't reveal weakness, actually just the opposite. Rest requires strength to have the courage to say no to some things so you can pursue this value of rest. You need to rest if you're going to be effective in youth ministry. The value of love, the value of depth, the value of rest. Now let me give you 3 questions to think about in order to evaluate your leadership. Number 1, are you fully surrendered to God's unconditional love? Question 2, are you connected in meaningful relationships with other believers? Question 3, are you too busy to stop and rest in God's presence? Thanks again for taking the time to listen and learn. And thank you for loving God and pointing students toward a life-changing relationship with Jesus. Thanks for doing what you do.